How do I actually research for an investment property? Having gone through this process 5 times myself and probably overanalyzing things to the nth degree, this video is for you to hopefully save you some time. In today's video, I'll be going over the top 5 things I look for when I'm looking at an investment property. All of these are really useful, and if you stick around to the end, I'll tell you which I think is the most important. And finally, I'll be hosting a competition for your chance to win some Apple AirPods, plus much more, so hang around to the end for the details on that as well. G'day, my name is Bushell, and I am your investor savvy broker. Before we dive into today's video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It'll just help this video and the channel reach more people like you. So kicking things off with number 1. Speaking to the right people. I would actually do this before even looking at one property. These are the kind of people who have already achieved the goals that you want to achieve, or they're the kind of people who are actually on the same path as you. I would not recommend speaking to people who don't have the same goals as you, as their opinions and beliefs could be misaligned to yours. To generalize, I'm talking about people like your Uber drivers, your barber, or even people close to you, like your friends or your family, who will tell you their opinions and happily tell you their beliefs. I'm not saying don't listen to them, but I'm just saying don't take to heart what they're saying, because this could potentially have an impact on the way you think and how you take action yourself. If you don't know anybody within your network who's either achieved your goals that you've got or is on the same path as you, I'd recommend looking in places like online forums, Facebook groups. This is a really good place to try and meet more like-minded people. So when I started out, I would use these type of platforms. I would then DM the kind of people who I admire, and I'd just ask for a portion of their time. In exchange, I might offer them a coffee, a beer, or a meal, and it was just an opportunity to learn from them and pick their brains and try and find those nuggets of gold to then help me on my journey. More often than not, you will find that these people are more than happy to help you with your journey, because there's a good chance they went through the same process themselves. Also, if you're new to property investing, I would take the time to form your ideal professional team to help you with your property journey. So when you are wanting to pull the trigger, life's going to be a lot easier. For example, I'm talking about your accountants, your buyer's agents, your property managers, brokers, and so on. When interviewing these professionals, I would actually be wanting to make sure that not only are they good at their current job at the moment, I also want to make sure that they've got my interests at heart. So I'd be wanting to know if they're a property investor, or if most of their clients are property investors, if they have either personally gone through that process or they've helped a lot of people with that. Not only can I rely on them to do a really good job as a accountant, broker, whatever, I can also rely on them to just give me some personal advice when it comes to purely the property investing side of things. Number 2, researching a specific area. Okay, so you've got your ideal property team, you've probably made a few friends along the way. Where do you go and what's next? Good starting place is the online forums and websites that I mentioned back in step 1. I'll include the links below in the description for them. So I'd actually spend a great deal of time looking through these 2 kind of websites. You have to spend a lot of time reading, which a lot of people aren't willing to do because they just want to go buy right now. However, most of the people in these places are generally ahead of the curve when it comes to them compared to the general population. Once I've taken stock of some areas that keep popping up and what people are talking about, I'd take note of what they're saying and why they're good, but then I'd actually go do my own research just to fact check and make sure for myself that it's going to be a good place to invest. I guess as the saying goes, it's best to not invest based on someone else's opinion, and it's best to go do your own due diligence. When looking at areas, I'll be looking for infrastructure and job creation. Not only will that entice people to come live there, but also entice them to work there as well. A good example of this is Western Australia during the mining boom. Back then, the mining boom attracted a lot of skilled labourers, and as a result, they all moved there, or some of them did fly in, fly out. However, when all that investment went into the area, property prices went up. Now, obviously, a lot of that all kind of finished and that investment went out, so then prices did go down. But this is just a pure example of what the infrastructure and job creation effects have on property. I'd also really want to understand what areas are the good pockets and what are the bad pockets. Typically, the good pockets have higher prices but lower yields, no crime, and probably no flood zones either, whereas the bad zones have the complete opposite. Both of these areas do have their opportunities, and it would really just come down to how the pockets align to what your goals are, and I would definitely be sussing them out as best as possible before making offers, because essentially you want to become an absolute expert of that area. And number 3, property stats. These pieces of gold are basically going to confirm whether the area is good to buy in or not. So I'm talking about the things like the vacancy rates, median house price or the median unit price, days on the market, all these stats that are like that. Talking from my own experience, please don't start your research here. I personally did this when I started out, and I kind of went down a rabbit hole of analysis paralysis. This sort of data will just confirm that where you're looking is good, but I would not base it purely on this where you're trying to speculate just by looking at numbers. These types of numbers aren't going to tell you if it's the next big place to buy, and I would just use it as confirmation more than anything. You'll get way more information just by going out and looking at the properties or just speaking to a bunch of real estate agents. Number 4 is the actual property. So you got your team ready, you know that the area is going to be good, all the stats tick the box, and now it's just the property. So how do you make sure that it's not going to be an absolute dud? I guess the first thing that I would check is I'd be checking the flood zone maps as well as the noise pollution maps. All the numbers could look really great on the property, but if it's going to be really loud or there's just water running through the property, no one's going to live in it. If you can inspect the property on a rainy day, this is great for 2 reasons. The first is it actually might scare off some potential competition or buyers who you could be competing with. I know it sounds silly, but some people may actually just get put off by the weather. The second, probably the more important thing, is actually the fact that you'll get a chance to see what the drainage of the property is like, whether it's running smoothly, if it's going into the backyard, or if it's going into the property. Also internally, if there's any leaks that you might have to be mindful of. This is a really good opportunity because guarantee if it's a sunny, nice day, it will always look great. Also, when inspecting the property, I would be looking out for structural issues. So these are things that immediately need to get repaired or remediated before you actually buy that property. So I'm talking about bigger items like your electrical box, maybe walls might be slightly bowing, water leaks, holes in the wall, stuff like that. Covering off on these at the beginning will initially give you a chance to lower the price when making offers. And when you send your building and pest inspector through, that will probably give you a second chance to negotiate lower should the conditions and the costs be way higher than what you estimated. I'd also be looking for ways to add value as well. So I'm talking about adding an extra bedroom if, for example, there's a study that nobody uses, that could get converted to a bedroom, or if there's an adjoining garage, you could probably section that off and convert that to a bedroom. Is there a really big backyard? Maybe you could subdivide that, make that into a granny flat. Or if it's a corner block, you could subdivide and sell that piece of land too. You always need to kind of be open and perceptive on ways to add value to increase the value or profit on that property. Or simply just looking for the ugliest property in the best street. Doing something as simple as like some very basic landscaping to improve the street appeal. A fresh lick of paint will be the best return on investment you'll ever do on the property. If that's not enough, I'd be then looking at the kitchen and bathroom because that's where the best return on investment is after painting. And finally, the last thing, number 5, is do the numbers for the property actually stack up? Personally, I want to make sure that the cash flow for this property is going to cover all the expenses. So I'm talking when the rental income comes in, you want to make sure it will cover all expenses, all outgoings, so there's a little bit left over. Profit from resi rental income, generally speaking, is not enough to write home about. However, this profit is enough to usually keep you in the game and ideally hold that property through multiple cycles. Also with resi property, I'll be wanting to make sure that I'm either purchasing at or slightly below market value, just because if things do get ugly and I have to sell for whatever reason, I know that I'm going to be able to get out of that property and not lose any money. So when it comes to crunching numbers, I've actually included a property calculator in the description below as well. So you're free to use that whenever you like, download a copy, use it as much as you like. So out of all 5, which do I think is the most important? Whilst the numbers for the property is really good, I would actually argue that who you surround yourself with is way more important. So I'm talking about whether it's your friends or family or like professionals who maybe aren't that great at their job. I'm sure we've all heard the stories of a broker or an accountant or a lawyer who has not done a very good job. What I'm getting at is, if you take this advice to heart or you get the wrong guidance, this could actually really set you back by quite a few years or quite a lot of financial pain. So it's really important to surround yourself with the right professionals, spend the time interviewing them and making sure that their goals are aligned to yours, but then also meeting more like-minded investors who have similar goals or interests to you, so you can lean on them for advice and they can build you up. What are your thoughts? Out of the 5, which do you think is the most important? Let me know in the comments below. And now the details for the competition that I'm holding. To be eligible for your chance to win some of the prizes, you need to subscribe, you need to like the video, and then let me know in the comments what you learned from this video or what you liked about it. You'll go into the draw for a chance to win some Apple AirPods, a 1-hour mentoring session with me, a property roadmap for yourself, as well as a portfolio review. For more details on the competition, check out the description below along with T's and C's. And that's it for today's video. Don't forget to subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.